one and done between both of these teams. You can see the fan vote in front of you now. A heavy favorite, so really no surprise here towards SSG, but we'll have to see if the Giants can best not only that vote, but the potential skill that's going to be coming out from SSG as well inside of this matchup with Canadian back at the wheel. They are a much more threatening team, in my opinion, on this map, and hopefully Giants are going to be ready for that.
Yeah, SSG throughout the history of Rainbow Six has been one of the most dominant teams on Clubhouse, almost going an entire year without dropping this map, having a strategy at one point in time that I went, I believe, 6 months without anyone actually getting a victory up against the setup. And that's just some hallmarks of just a singular map inside of the discography of SSG, and that's why they were so dominant for such a long time, especially with Canadian coming into that roster inside of middle of 2019, right before 2020 happened, and then obviously retiring and sending everyone for a little bit of a shock. And speaking of shocks, Giants will be taking away the Jaeger. That's going to be a huge piece to the puzzle off the board, as SSG will be removing our last piece. I'm not assuming that it's going to be Wamai. I like the Kaid ban here, especially with that Thatcher.
Yeah, Thatcher as well as Maverick getting knocked out. So that combo right there for the attack makes opening the two pivotal balconies on a second floor defense a very arduous task for any attacking side that has to try and work towards that. So knocking out Cade is going to be a good counter response to at least make it so getting the doors open, or the balconies open, more importantly, as well as some other important spots on the map, is going to be at least an achievable task inside of a relatively realistic amount of time. Otherwise, we'd be spending probably half or more of the round trying to get that open, or more likely teams would just have to bypass it completely with those bans.
All right, well, round one just around the corner. I thought for just a split second that we were going to be seeing the SSG roam just minus the castle, with Fultz flashing that vigil a little earlier on, but instead locked into Bandit, initially 6-picking away to the Valkyrie. So just want some more intel, whether it be deep inside of Armory or Kitchen, we'll have to see, but those cameras more than likely going to have an effect over this round coming up next. But SSG going to start down low. They're bringing a couple of the pieces to the puzzle that we're used to seeing for their basement setups, especially with Rampy on the Mozzie and the Mute coming in for Nade. Canadian, of all people, going to be on the smoke. We're used to seeing Bosco on that, but could still have an extended roam here as we see Rampy hightail it upstairs, slap up the jacuzzi walls, as well as Nade start to put down some of those mute jammers.
I think we're going to see that. Not only that, too, but there was a little bit of a 6-pick bait from SSG that ended up working out well. We had a Bandit locked in initially there for Fultz, and he switched it over. That also brought, I believe anyway, the 6-pick from Giants into play on a Cali for Speakeasy there. Whereas now we're not going to see as much use out of that, but will still be useful for getting open things like the balcony, because we're still going to have mute jammers down on the ground. So it's not a complete loss at this point for Giants. Still will more than likely be able to use that utility piece in the late round as well when trying to access the actual basement. But as Sam was mentioning, we do have this out and about roam specifically from Thinking Nade right now, but more people also probably contributing to this also. And you can see just how easy they're going to be able to get open these walls, thankfully, due to the fact that they do bring that Cali into play.
And this is the nice thing about, having a setup that is so prolific, right? When you're the team that obviously made it and anyone sees any aspect of it show up inside of the opposing lineup, they're immediately going to retaliate, whether it be through 6 picks or some different form of strategy. This time around, it was the Kali pick, like you were talking about, and they're going to be using that to get rid of these mute jammers upstairs. Now, the good news is that this is going to delay so much time for SSG, and you can see they're already leaving the area. They know exactly what they were here for. Fultz is going to hold the bottom of main. They'll be able to rotate out safely, and Rampy, for good measure, going to make sure to lock up that flank for drones. This so far has been an amazing round from SSG.
Dangerous size stack sitting here for Giants. And it's important to note, too, that with all these players falling back, the core element of utility for SSG has not even been used yet. They bring 4 nitros into this round. They have 4 nitros and a single shield, which obviously was deployed. So they want to use these. That may explain part of the reason why they're continuing to stick around, at least for now, on the first floor as well, because there still might be a chance for them to throw 1 or 2 of those out and find a pick while Giants are working on droning.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other big thing is if they don't respect bar correctly, they could run into a lot of problems. Ysera will pick up Rampy. Don't exactly know where the angle was from. Nevertheless, Rampy will falter. Jordan going to take a lot of heat for that one, but not too big of an exchange, honestly, when it comes down to it. Exchanging out Rampy for about a minute and a half worth of time. And obviously, his pests are still going to persist as well. So now it's down to Giants to try and actually attack this bottom floor. Now, they have a lot of utility in order to do so. This This is mostly going to be on the hard destruction of Hysterics to get these hatches open, then use Lunar Metal to start applying pressure to Deep Armory. You can see Bosco already trying to battle back, uses a Nitro Cell early on. Not going to get too much damage, but just trying to limit Giant's potential. The second Nitro Cell comes through, and that one will land. That's going to be the exchange and the sledge off the board.
Last available Nitro Cell for SSG, though, so don't expect any more of that as we enter the final 30 seconds of the round. Giants do have the all clear to move into the site, but which path are they going to take? They still don't have the kitchen drop open. That obviously will be changing here now over the next few seconds. They have options to go down bar and obviously blue, but here's the thing. 20 seconds now. We still don't have a decision being made yet. That's going to change here. Just rolls right into the site all of a sudden after forcing Thinking Nate out of position with the nade. But Speakeasy, the only one in here, that sniper though, and he's going to use it. A second kill up on the board, but only one making a difference inside of this round is Speakeasy right now, and he'll have to go the full distance as Ysera now puts that case on the ground, and unfortunately will go down just a few moments later due to the exploits of Canadian. SSG take the first round.
I sincerely apologize if you guys heard that clapping. That was textbook from Canadian right there. Yeah, it wasn't even that. It was just the read that Canadian got on that situation. It's the 2v2. He doesn't want to try and take that initial gunfight. Secondary pistol on Kali, one of the most powerful secondary SMGs in the game, actually relative stats-wise to the F2, if you guys didn't know. On top of that sniper rifle that Speakeasy used extremely well into the mud tunnel engagement, or dirt tunnel engagement, excuse me. But, Canadian identifying that situation and knowing what's going to go on around that box, and immediately shifting gears over to a different off angle and using that M590 through the wall instead to deal the damage instead of taking the head-on gunfight. It's just a much smarter way to deal with that situation, and that right there shows you why Canadian is as good as he is. He doesn't have to use his mechanical skill. He can use that big brain, of his, on top of his head. I saved myself there for a second. Anyways, use that big brain of his, right? Use that big brain to win those engagements instead. That was just a really, really strong showing from SSG, although the Giants, what a valiant effort going into those 9 seconds.
Certainly the case there, especially considering the circumstances leading up to the execute. A great play coming out specifically from Speakeasy. Unfortunately, just didn't see the rest of the team step up as necessary there in order to get them into the site. So SSG ultimately take control of that one and move upstairs for their second round here as they're going to go for the CCTV hold. An interesting wrinkle here too in that we don't have that straightforward bunker operator. They had it locked in initially as a Maestro was brought to the table, but Canadian flipped that out and is now onto a Valkyrie instead. So we have a fairly mobile composition here for SSG on the inside of the site. We're going to see how they use it now as Giants are out and about. Sorry, Sam, go ahead.
Oh, you're all good, buddy. I'm so sorry. Anyways, what I was going to say is that I think this is something that we're going to see routinely throughout this for SSG's defenses. I think that they want more of a hybrid style of play as opposed to having some hard anchors. And since Bosco is going to be playing balcony with the FMG9, which is to be expected, especially for Bosco, they just want something that is a little bit more mobile, like you were talking about. They want to be able to get out of these poor engagements because, as we all know with CCTV, and when things start to deteriorate later into the round, things can get quite drastic in what you actually have to do on the defense. Lots of moving, lots of areas where you're going to have to cross sight lines that you don't necessarily want to if you do want to get more aggressive. So we'll have to see how they want to go about this. But Speakeasy, just for a split second, staring into the abyss, but eventually gets it lined up onto the actual wall. There's also going to be a soft panel in here for construction, which could be a nice feather into the hat of the Giants if they want to try and abuse it.
Yeah, Speakeasy not staring at the wall there. I think we just had like a desync for a second or something like that.
Yeah, I was definitely spectator. I just wanted to say staring off into the abyss.
Yeah, I was confused as well for a second there, folks, but pretty sure it's all good now.
He was thinking about his wife back home from war. That's what he was thinking about for just a second.
Okay, so we've got SSG once again with solid control here so far, but that's going to start to change over these next few seconds as the Giants begin to take initial upstairs control, most notably over here towards the master bedroom right now. Drone work into construction, and by extension of that, Giants will take control, but they still have a lot to work their way towards in the actual site here, towards cache and CCTV, and unfortunately, we haven't seen much progress in that work just yet. The main push point is going to be through the construction wall if they can get it open, but that's the issue. Thinking Nate is here, and he's ready to trick it, as you can see him doing right now.
And that's the biggest problem, right? We talk about how bandit tricking's worked its way out of the meta, all except for really this location is Nade can really do whatever he wants to. It's really safe to play that location unless they get stock control downstairs where they can possibly abuse that through verticality, but they have Fultz down low as well, and that's why we see Giants immediately rotate Ysera over to CCTV double and get that wall open for Plat. But the issue is now Giants are running into a very, very similar problem as to what they had the last time. Timing. 30 seconds remain for them to actually push into this site. They need to get an entry frag here as they have 0 damage done to any of the SSG members.
Close one from Speakeasy. Surprised it didn't make the connection, but now we've got Rampy on the flank, who's going to take Speakeasy out, along with one other player from Giants, putting us into a 5v3. Rampy still holding the pinch here as well, so he's going to go hyper-aggressive outside, downs Ysera and the Pokeball as well, because why not? Hysterics gets a single trade somewhere in the chaos, but it matters not as SSG shut it down besides that and take their second round.
I mean, you know, with a hand like that, the Cubs might be looking for a pitcher. That's all I'm saying. You know, we could really use you. I'm just saying. Either way, Rampy really just putting the dagger right into the heart of the Giants. And, you know, I think that the biggest thing to say right now, John, is that this isn't SSG truly winning these rounds, to be completely honest with you. This is Giants and the way that they're breaking down the map. It's just getting down to a time crunch, and SSG are able to abuse them inside of that time crunch, making it way too difficult to get a case down or trying to exchange into a positive manner for the Giants.
I would agree with that for the most part. First round, I would say SSG do a very, very good job of wasting the time with their upstairs play. And even following that through with a tiny bit of delay on the first floor there too, for the most part. They just held a posture position and weren't able to do a whole lot, but saw that all follow through into the late round regardless. But I definitely agree Giants possibly not making the best use of their time here, or at least not acting where it needs to be made. So we'll have to see if they can improve that over these remaining few rounds on the inside of the first half here as SSG now goes to the final point on their rotation as they enter the gym and bedroom, and they're going to see a Frost come into play here as a lot of teams have continued to implement, and she's for the most part become a mainstay on this site now.
Yeah, you know, I'm really glad that you brought up the counterpoint because of that very first round. But I think that the thing that I want to highlight here with the Giants is that if you are going to enter the dojo of SSG, that is Clubhouse, you need to come correct, right? You know they're going to be doing roams. You know they're going to be doing these things. Why are we not seeing cutoffs? Why are we not seeing proper pressure? That's the thing that I'm frustrated with right now for the Giants, is that there is so much VOD on SSG for this map and this map alone, especially with Canadian in the lineup, that I don't think there's going to be too many huge aspects that will be changed up as opposed to how they regularly play LAN with these guys. So, you know, obviously there's going to be some new things coming in with operator lineups and some different kind of strategy, right? But when it comes to Clubhouse, I don't think that there's too much of a mix-up that's happened inside of the last year. Operator-wise, maybe Frost coming in a little bit more often, but that's truly it when it comes down to it. We've seen some laser gates obviously get added in as well. But the Giants, for the most part, should have a solid read as to how SSG wants to play Clubhouse, and they're just very patient as to how they're doing things, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It just becomes a bad thing when they're not able to find those frags because SSG are just slowly backing off as the Giants progress forward, seemingly giving Giants some map control, but really it's just, hey, we don't want anybody to die while we continue to waste your time.
Oftentimes the kind of quantum issue of Siege. So many teams struggling from a similar issue. Nice way to try to get the wall open here, by the way, is they're going to put the hard breach onto the floor. It will extend to the wall next to it when they decide to blow it up here. And obviously that Maestro gonna have to hightail it back to the reinforced shield to play off of that. And actually only giving the floor angle, but it works there as Jordan is able to line up the frag against Thinking Nade, taking him out. Very well played by the Giants in order to get that job done, as I believe they get that kill as a result of the opening.
Much better. Yes, actually the opening was a bait. They put it on the floor, and that's something that I was going to point out, is that he kind of had a counter angle there with the drywall stack sitting in front of him and the shield, but the counter angle from the Giants they finally used. They finally got that cutoff set up on the single panel for construction. They take down Nade, and now they have a minute left to try and deal with this SSG setup.
Problem for Giants here is we've already seen them be in this position once before where, yes, they've cleared out an extended roam or an extended position somewhere on the map, but ultimately only had a minute or so afterwards in order to make the rest of the play, and that's where SSG eventually took over. We'll see if the same fate is going to befall Giants here over these next 40 seconds. They're just now beginning to work their way in to the area surrounding the site. Impact Trick is going to prevent the first attempt to open up the bathroom wall, and I believe that's the only hard breach remaining for our attackers, so there won't be a second attempt. Indeed, that is correct. Steric's now out of charges, and they don't have any secondary to use here. Rampy, as he plays on those main stairs, going to get forced back slightly due to flashbang usage, but not to a degree where he's out of this fight. Remember, we still have the two players holding Logi after all. Fultz, speaking of that position, trying to put some aggression onto it. Rampy and Canadian seem to be doing most of the heavy lifting right now, though, as they take out two members of the Giants to start this round. Speakeasy back into it again as he picks up a double from the CSRX, and as well opens an opportunity to put the case down. Now it's an even fight, but Fultz is battling back, and oh no, the drop from Speakeasy. He's gone downstairs. Maybe the end of him here. Saving grace is brought back into the round as the fact that Canadian has been down. Fultz will take a moment in order to retrieve his teammate, as I believe SSG also may have thought Speakeasy survived that fall right there and stayed upstairs. Regardless, though, Fultz with a quick peek out from the CCTV window, takes out Speakeasy, prevents the clutch, and allows for SSG to pick up a third consecutive round.
Just a little spicy when it came to that peak there from Fultz. Overall, an amazing round from SSG, and what a comeback. Honestly, when they got the case down, thought the Giants had it locked up, but Fultz just too fantastic in that moment. I don't think that you're going to be able to shut him down when he's shooting like that. Able to pick up a huge triple kill there and bring the Giants, or excuse me, SSG back into the round, taking the round away from the Giants. And the Giants, really solid start there, like we were talking about. They're able to get control of construction, but they didn't seem to worry too much about logistics, and that's where the safe harbor was for SSG. They get control of logistics once again. Fultz starts finding frags inside of there. They rotate out, start dealing with Master, and start challenging Jacuzzi as well as the Waits hallway, and they kill everyone all except for Speakeasy out on the Master balcony. It was just very, very well played from SSG, knowing where the Giants were operating from, especially inside of construction, and pushing themselves into the proper areas in order to combat that.
Obviously a valiant attempt from Speakeasy there. Some of the most impressive play on the CSRX that I have actually seen in Siege's history so far on that weapon. So really got to give him some props for being able to use it there, where a lot of other players have struggled with it in the past and have usually defaulted to that secondary weapon. Obviously not going to see that come into this round, unfortunately, as it will finally get 6 picked away and we'll end up with a Zofia. But if Speakeasy continues to perform, I can only shudder at what he might be able to do on a more normal operator now.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he's been lights out so far, and as you said, he's been using an operator that isn't necessarily, fundamentally the best inside of Siege, right? You've got a sniper rifle that's a bolt action. If you miss, you're more than likely going to have to go to your secondary. If it's a close engagement, there's just a lot of things that go into Kali's kit that obviously make gunfights very difficult. But this time around, going to be bringing the Zofia, which could honestly make things a little bit easier for the Giants overall. He's obviously been finding the frags. He has the most frags right now for the Giants. And Zofia bringing those impacts as well as those concussions to try and loosen up the setup on site could definitely be of some large assistance.
Well, we've got Giants starting to make an internal effort, specifically focused on the first floor here now, as obviously we'll be going against SSG's basement defense once again. They've switched almost immediately towards a bunker setup here now on the reattempt from SSG, so you're not going to see much on the roam game here, as pretty much all 5 of their players are going to stick downstairs. They even bring the bandit this time on Rampy so they can reinforce those lower levels there and make sure they're okay. We're actually not going to see any batteries down on that at all right now, but as you can see, Rampy's got it in his hand, just waiting for the correct moment to start putting those on the ground so they're not thrown down too early and potentially taken out very easily by utility from the Giants.
Also doesn't seem like SSG is too concerned with impact tricking the kitchen hatch, as Fultz is going to be the only one with impact, and I don't even necessarily know if they have the holes made. It does look like they have the holes made under that right-hand side, so could use that to get rid of one set of X-Kairos here from Hysterics, but just remember Habana has had that change, so he'll be able to bait out a lot of utility from down low. So it's more than likely why SSG has went away from the impact tricking is because of that change to Habana, where she gets to put down different set amounts of pellets, and obviously Hysterics going to be using the dual set instead of the full 6 like we'd used to see back in the day.
When they're still working on reconstructing the bathroom or kitchen, floor here, leading down to the basement just to make sure that they have every angle they need, assuming that they are going to indeed try to open up the hatch. That may not be a certainty in this situation, though. We already saw in the first basement attack the Giants chose to focus primarily on the blue push, but that wasn't necessarily because of the fact that they didn't have access to the hatch. It was more so the fact that time was low. They didn't have time to go through the full opening process, as they were already at about 20 seconds at that point. Things are a little different this time, but time is still a crunch for Giants, as once again we get to a low time scenario. No one's been able to push their way in and start the aggression yet, but that is going to change over these next few moments here as they'll finally start to work their way in. Again, so far, what's been an untouched SSG, but that now changes. Jordan, first on the board here again for the Giants as they drop one, but not even sure how that happened, but Lunar Metal's going to end up going down there. I think he was dropped by an opponent and the nade was in hand, so that's not entirely his fault. Hysterics now fragging out in the mid-round, trying to mop up the rest of SSG as they are continuing to falter to this Giants attack. Still holding on, if only slightly. Canadian now bringing this to a 1v2, trying to deny case control, but it is going down on the inside of the site. Canadian averaging his way out, has intel on the player by blue. There we go. There's the pickup. Won't get the opportunity to immediately deny the planter, but he has to even go. And he's going to take it. Canadian's back on the field, and he's immediately making the difference for SSG as he gets the 1vx clutch, as well as the 4th round for SSG. Still not a single one on the board for the Giants here.
Well, he doesn't have the worst gun in the game, but he does have the most kills, if that matters. Canadian standing up tall right now for SSG and closing things out in a 1v2. And not only a 1v2, but a 1v2 up against Speakeasies, who we've been seeing take down so many people today. So what a moment there for Canadian, and what a moment for SSG. That's 4 rounds in a row on, let's not even call it Clubhouse anymore, Joe. It's got to be Dubhouse. You know it is.
Well, we'll see if they can get that, Dubs. They're still 3 rounds away from it, unfortunately. Just a little bit further to go here. But we'll see. SSG certainly on the warpath, it seems, at this point, though. 4 consecutive rounds in a row. The last one being won via clutch as well. The Giants coming so close on a few of these rounds, but unfortunately not able to get themselves on the board just yet. Well, yes, it is Clubhouse, a traditionally very defender-sided map. You still got to expect something from the Giants on this half, and we'll just have to hope that it comes in these next 2 rounds. Otherwise, they'll be in serious trouble, to say the least, when we switch sides.
Oh, absolutely. It's just very difficult right now for the Giants because it goes back to timing and how they're really using their time inside of their rounds. I think that the thing right now for the Giants is that they're looking for a lot of these early engagements, and SSG simply aren't giving them to them. And the reason I'm saying that is, like, for instance, we saw Speakeasy inside of that last round seemingly sit on secret stairs for what seemed like an eternity, just shooting around blue, just trying to see if Rampy will peek him and peek him and peek him, and he's not going to give that to you, man. He's not going to do that. It's one of those things where the offense has to be the aggressor inside of some certain scenarios. They finally are able to get the frag, but you know when that was? 32 seconds left on the clock, and because Rampy pushed into Moto, and it was immediately refragged because a down sledge in the sledge frag grenade goes off in his hand. Lunar Metal ends up getting traded out. So it's Giants, I feel like, doing this to themselves. Yes, SSG are having some really bright moments, but I want to see Giants have a round that is truly theirs to win.
I would almost say this is like symptomatic of the first round, but that's almost not a good point to make when you think that the roam game from SSG that in theory would have been slowing down Giants throughout the rest of these rounds, would have made the impact there. But that's the thing, that the impact wasn't necessarily, in terms of kills anyway, coming from the roam game there in SSG. It was the fact that they just wasted a bunch of time more than anything else. Remember, they had 4 nitro cells in that round, only got a kill with 1 of them, which was the main attempt that they were trying to play for after they fell back from the 2nd floor. So it's weird now that Giants aren't taking a little bit more aggressive control early on here, considering that the roam game hasn't been the immediate issue. It's just been a problem of dealing with it at appropriate time more than anything else.
Yeah, I have not seen the Giants personally play in a little while, so it's exciting to have them back, but it just seems like some of the aggression that I'd been used to seeing in APAC might have been just tempered just a little bit to where, maybe possibly Giants can get the ball rolling here, but they might need something major to happen to them, get their, mental back into the game, because as of right now, this just seems like insult to injury from SSG, especially with Fultz on this rotation very early on here, already halfway through the round, and could possibly have a frag, but it looks like we're gonna have a flank drone set up. But the important thing is here, does somebody watch it? And yes, they will. Okay. Ooh, scary there for just a second. I thought Fultz was gonna slide on by.
Fultz is like, do I need to shoot this? Yes, I do, for sure. So, Giants continuing to vie for control, primarily from construction once again. So already a similar take coming in here to what we saw in that last round. But pretty big curveball here, and that wall is soft. And already, I believe it obviously would have been reinforced earlier in the round, seeing as we've got 2 hard breaches being used. So obviously, Giants increasing their pace inside of this round. Now just need to work their way into the site. Fultz, in the meanwhile, striking first, however, taking out Speakeasy once again, arguably the most influential player inside of this game from the Giants so far. Now down for the count. However, maybe the same for Canadian as a Kobe rolls in. Chance for recovery, possibly, as he's not in a terrible spot to get revived, but with that wall being soft, probably going to make it a little bit more impossible in this situation, especially now the Giants are starting to apply that pressure from both sides. Bosco and Thinking Nate begin to defend that very pressure up, but not before another frag grenade takes the life of Fultz. Lunar Metal able to carry that forward behind the frag, pick up Canadian also here, and now trying to fight through that smoke, but it blinds him too much. Rampy gets the revenge for his fallen teammates, and Thinking Nate seals the deal as SSG pick up yet another round here on the 5th.
So Giants, they work their way to site, John, but they don't clear any of the utility, like at all. They get walls open, but then they immediately just try to contest through gunfights and just push through the utility of SSG. I didn't see them destroy a singular Banshee. I didn't see them bait out any smokes. I didn't see them do anything of the sort. So when it comes down to it, I don't necessarily know how the Giants think that this is going to be a successful round, and I hate to put it that way because that you know, obviously they're doing what they think is right, but I don't know, man. It just seems like they're lost.
I would argue that there was some viability to their push there when you consider that they had the frag prime in order to allow them in before they put for that push, and the fact that they immediately got another frag kill as well when they.
What about the part where they only got kills with frag grenades and then they pushed immediately into 2 Banshees and a toxic smoke where they couldn't see?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, ultimately, like, you know, in hindsight, not a great call, right? But I can see the reasoning for why they would have done that when you consider that, all right, guys, we've got like 2 kills here lined up. We need to take advantage on this and go in now. And maybe there was just bad intel on what the setup was like at that point, and they didn't expect so much resistance on the utility front.
Yeah, I can definitely see that, especially like with the Jaeger ban coming through, right? Like we're expecting the frags to be more prolific inside of this matchup, although Fultz is on the Wamai, but he's been mostly on Roam like we saw inside of that last round, so that means those discs that he's getting later onto the round probably won't necessarily be on site in such a early or such a fast fashion, right? So once they burn out those initial discs, they don't have to worry too much about things, but the thing that just really made me scratch my head was obviously just like the full push right into all the Banshees of Rampy, and then just trying to push on through that smoke of the smoke on defense for SSG. It's just a really, really risky thing that I think 9 times out of 10 is not going to work. So I especially for Giants going into the last round here, this needs to be a big change up for them because they absolutely need an offensive round if they want a snowball's chance in hell of taking SSG here on Clubhouse.
Yeah, kind of goes without saying here, 6-0 half. Not very good. So we'll see if Giants can change their fate at all, as they're going to make one more attempt to take down SSG, specifically on their bedroom defense. Now, Sarah, already on the hunt here, using that first Selma to open up a path to the inside of CCTV. Lunar has also used the sledge in order to open up the soft paneling on the balcony. Not going to see an immediate push from the Giants, though, as there's other work being done across the map, too, such as the opening of the jacuzzi balcony that we just saw right there. Finally, though, Jordan specifically pushing into that CCTV position with Lunar and one other of their teammates very close behind. Shouldn't have much of an issue dealing with Cash, but as you can see, still using the time to check this from a drone in order to make sure that they don't make any mistakes. Hey, we were talking yesterday about teams getting used to land, right? That's just one great example right there.
Oh no! I think Lunar straight up broke it, right?
Yeah, like no, he hit it. Okay. He was probably like a pixel or two too close to the model of this clone, and he ended up hitting the clone.
That's so unfortunate.
Which is weird. I'm not really sure how you can destroy that with a hammer, but you know we're not physicists, so we'll leave.
I mean, but you also shoot it technically, right? So
yeah, fair enough. Fair counter.
I mean, I guess physicality has effect over the light produced hologram. Anyways, well, let's not get into science here. We're gonna break everybody's brains. How do they work? Anyways, No, the only bad thing about that is got to be that obviously Jordan's going to take some time on that cooldown, because when you do get your hologram destroyed, it's actually on a much longer cooldown than if you reset it yourself. So either way, Giants now down to the last minute here to try and pick up a round on this offense, and it's already starting off poorly. Nade with the first strike as he takes down Jordan, who apparently just tried to hop inside of a window. Lunar Metal follows through. He'll actually get the refrag. Not too much damage dealt back to him either. Looks like he'll also end up running into a possible concussion here. Yes, from Speakeasy. No Ella inside of this lineup. Just had to double check there for a split second. But 30 seconds remain as the Giants will get 2 big frags as they force their way in. Lunar Metal now with strong positioning and Rampy with a refrag.
Lunar on another one on the inside of this round right here. The entry power is unmatched, and he still has an opportunity to pick up more for that forward position in the site. He's the closest ping to Canadian right now. Canadian, speaking of which, trying to play behind the mattress. Oh no! A team kill at the same time. Canadian gonna be able to chuck in the Nitro Cell, isolate out Speakeasy, and bring this down to a 1v1.
Oh my God!
To end it, but Canadian goes for the long range M590 shot for the perfect half. SSG 6-0 as we switch sides.
I think I'm seeing double. I don't know, man. This guy's just showing like unkillable Demon King vibes. I don't get it. Like, he cannot die. In any engagement this guy is in right now, he cannot die. Canadian only dying twice so far inside of 6 rounds. The last one getting some good damage off inside of that round and eventually getting fragged out on the bomb chassis. But it seems like if you're allowing Canadian to live right now, that's the gravest mistake you can possibly make. This is not the Canadian of, I got a 0.86 rating and, you know, I'm getting the frags and helping out the team and playing the utility ops and just doing my thing. This is Canadian taking it to these opposing squads. Some electrifying things happening right now for this SSG squad.
That scene from Harry Potter, man. He's back.
Like, you can't say his name either, by the way.
Yeah, no. Well, that's going to be a little difficult on the casting front, but we'll talk to whoever makes up the rules about that one. Either way, going into the final round, potentially
10-3-1, dude. He's 10-3-1.
Absolutely insane stuff. And then, I mean, like, here's the thing, right? Like, Bosco's like a 1-5 right now, but it doesn't even matter, because Canadian and the rest of SSG are performing so incredibly well inside of this matchup and have already brought us to potentially the final round on number 7. And you know what that means? Giants, obviously not wanting to drop a donut here, are going to be focusing very heavily on making sure that they can at least leverage some of these rounds together here. We'll see if they can do it. They're going to be bringing Echo into their defense here too, so expect more than likely a lot of emphasis on the Church defense, but as I finish my sentence, I noticed that they left all 3 of the Church walls soft, so probably going to be a lot more focus on Arsenal instead, compared to a similar strategy that I saw either from Empire or BDS yesterday, but they try to do the same thing for the inside.
Oh, there we go. All right.
But they do it.
They had 4 reinforcements left in the pool, and I was like, guys, guys, please.
I'm hoping it was just late delay, but yeah.
All right. We got it set up. I think one thing... Yeah, more than likely, honestly. I don't really know. Okay, like, you know, I think we yell loud enough, Sarah might hear us across the ocean.
Just for anybody who thought we were serious, they didn't hear us. But
they did not hear us. No way. But looks like Giants are going to have a little bit of a different setup when it comes to this basement. Obviously, we saw SSG with more of a roam set the first time around. Second one, not so much, but either way was the same result. 6-0 right now up for SSG. Giants, like we were talking about, downstairs and bringing the Echo into the lineup here, and I really like this, honestly. I think that Echo is still quite the potent operator. Obviously not as strong as he once was, but he still has some uses. It's just, you know, as to how he used to get played, it's just obviously a very, very stark contrast. So we'll see if Hysterics can possibly get some effectiveness off with these drones. You have to be a little bit more sly with them. We saw him put one of those onto the new double box that we have 2 stacked on top of each other in the middle of Armory. So we'll see if he can possibly get that to go off, as nobody should be able to shoot it from any of those side angles. And Hysterics playing deep inside of sight on AK. So Giants with more of a turtle setup for their defensive play here.
Still going to be pretty heavy focus on both sites, though, so it will be an effort and a half for SSG to try to work their way in here, as Giants are not going to give SSG any fight at all until they encroach on this position in the base. We're going to start to see that transpire now here, however. Attempts to throw the bandit batteries down are coming in. Trick attempts are also working their way out also, but 3 out of 4 of the potential holes to be made there are successful, so Lunar, as well as Jordan and the rest of the Giants are unable to stop that opening. SSG more than likely has what they need to begin pushing this site.
Okay, well, wall open, good drone intel in. Looks like SSG are ready for this church assault. Lunar finally cleaning up that drone, but they know his exact positioning. But can he still get the frag possibly? Rampy will be downed here. Lunar with a big frag as he rotates back into black box. Still have 2 SSG members inside of Moto. Big nade here from Rampy as they'll pick him back up. So good news for them. Finally got the refrag. Lunar, though, with the mispositioning. Yet another frag grenade goes down, but it's a refrag once again from Bolts as he takes control of blue. Canadian gets a big kill as well. They now have control. They can get this case to go down. Ysera's down. Hysteric's the only one remaining. He'll be able to clean up Bolts, but he can't get on the drone. Nade hops through the hole. He Kool-Aid mans it, takes down the last man, and it's a 7-0 in favor of SS.